looking real irie. I wish he was in like physical space. I could like smell you.
A man was lynched today, and they ain't just a quote or a song or a poem, right or wrong. While you was driving home, a man was lynched today, and they ain't just a quote or a song or a poem, right or wrong. While you were driving home, a man was lynched today, and they ain't just a song or a poem, right or wrong. Right or wrong, get it on, right or
Okay, Sean Taylor,
dressed in all
Sean
black
Meacham.
like the omen. Shit, I'm
Yeah.
dressed in all white like a shaman.
If
Neck
y'all like
turner
this
in
MC,
the
y'all
back,
can check
singing
her
on the
out
strength
on
like
the
when
Taking
some
Down NOLA YouTube
down,
page.
can't snow,
Also, an
climb
amazing
down
educator and
stones.
activist.
23
Powerful words for us about 5 years ago when it went down in City Council.
they got Sully, they got Mel, free trail, 150K, $30 every day, slave property estate, young and caught a case, facing 10 to 90.
All right, y'all, we're going to go ahead and get it started. I'll give up a little air clap for DJ P-Day, doing a thing, coming through with God doing, baby God do it. I like to think of it. Charmisha, our own local Erica-esque MC. I am so glad to have y'all up in the space this evening. We got some powerful, powerful words coming from some powerful, powerful vessels and powerful spirits on this evening, and we very much need that revolutionary firewater as well as that necessary healing balm in these challenging times we live in, it, to say the very least. This is Come On in the Hills, the 7 days of action by the New Orleans People's Assembly. Air clap, give it up for them. Did some powerful work in the streets in the last 7 days of centering women, folks, and families. I'm gonna go ahead and close my mouth. I get long-winded. I just want y'all to go ahead and give it up. I'm gonna take us to the Caribbean real quick for our sister, the hostess with the mostest. Pew, 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 pew. Give it up for Sister Vanna holding it down on the ones and twos. She's going to be our driver through the night.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all. I'm having a little glitch here, so I don't know if you guys can see me in motion and hear me. Give me a thumbs up if you're seeing me and hearing me and feeling me. Thank you. All right, cool. I'm still frozen on mine. So I'm real grateful and excited to be here. It's good to see all of your faces. Some of you I haven't seen in a moment. Some of y'all I've been in the streets without you. So I'm super grateful for this space. So what we're gonna do is just breathe together here really quick. It looks like most of you are in a safe space, a comfortable space. If you can remove your shoes, if you're comfortable too, I welcome you to remove your shoes. We're gathered here to remember ourselves in hopes of remembering ourselves as community. So let us come to a place of stillness. Visualize your intention for being in this space. We're gonna breathe together here. And the Earth birthday boy gonna give me a little drum. You're gonna get off of mute. Just breathe together here. Plant your feet on the earth beneath you. Connect with her. Feel the many ways she supports you. She sustains you. Take another deep breath in. We gather to reverence all the many parts of our healing process, all the healing processes that we remember and know from our ancestors, and those that we do not remember, we honor them. Let's breathe in together and remember. We honor those who resist oppression and fight for the collective liberation of those being oppressed. Connect with the ground beneath you. Go deep beneath the roots. Connect with the roots. Root yourself with the earth. Remember the ways she supports you. She sustains you. Bring your awareness to your breath. Let's take a deep breath in. Bring your awareness to your breath. Take a deep breath in. Think about your prana, your life source. Take a few moments to scan your body. Identify the areas that want to let go. Take a deep breath in. Take another deep breath in. Let the air around you, surround you, uplift you. With your next deep breath in, ascend. Ascend up beyond your ceiling. At your own pace, take a deep breath in, feeling the sensations that accompany your breath throughout your entire being, and a slow out breath. Allow your senses to travel up, up, up to the deep blue, up to the deep, deep blue. Let your awareness coalesce with the universe. Take a deep breath in. We are the same as carbon and oxygen and iron as the celestial bodies. Connect with the sensations, the sounds, feelings, and light around you, remembering your breath. Take a deep breath in. Think about all the systems within your body that are working to keep you mobile. Breathe life into the organism that is you, connecting with the ground, the earth. Let's take deep breaths for our collective wholeness. Let us ground ourselves as we breathe deeply and gather to remember the parts of ourselves that are brilliant and resilient. And we're going to go into doing some libations. I was blessed this Sunday to see Mama Denise do some magical libation, so I feel honored to have her in our presence this evening. So I'm going to ask here at a point for us to call out the names of revolutionary freedom fighting ancestors. We're calling out only at this time those who have transitioned, passed beyond the veil. We are calling out those names to charge the atmosphere, to ask that this space and time not be in vain, but be a part of an ongoing, ever-growing, politically grounding, revolutionary spirit in the landscape of New Orleans. From each of our internal landscapes, we want resistance to be the silver thread lining the seeds that we plant and cultivate. So in the spirit of Sankofa, going back to the root for strength, we recall those who have passed through the veil from life to death to earth to breath. Remember those who gifted us with life. Ubuntu, I am because we are. We remember the daughters of the Maroon Societies whose struggle defy gravity and define liberation. Hail to those we knew and loved. Their bodies give us strength today. Reverence to those whose names we remember and those whose names we don't know, whose memory we carry in our DNA and our blood composition. So I'm gonna pour some libation, and I'm gonna ask people can unmute one at a time, and we're gonna call out the names of revolutionary freedom fighters who have transitioned, who have impacted your organizing work and your journey.
Eddie Lou Hamer.
Ya Asantewa.
Ashe. Ashe.
Fred Hampton.
Mildred Graves.
Ashe. Ashe.
Octavia Butler.
France Fanon.
Claudia Jones.
Dara Abu Bakari.
Dorothy Mae Taylor.
Masuma Diarra.
Myra Hemmings.
Ashe.
Edna Montrell.
Douglas Red.
Fred Hampton.
James Baldwin.
Audrey
Brendan
Lloyd.
Damar Sr.
June Jordan.
Marsha P. Johnson. Ma
Now I
Johnson.
welcome Ashe. I heard those last two. And now I welcome us to call those who are in our direct bloodline, whose strength we want to call, whose names we want to reverence.
Alfred White.
Ashe.
Anna Suber.
Evans.
Mildred Abney.
Lanny and John Lee Evans.
Michael
Barney Morell.
Augustine
Virgil Graves. Martin Salinas.
Margaret Davis.
I appreciate you all. I'm having some tech difficulties here. I appreciate y'all. Ashe.
I'm going to go ahead and step in for my revolutionary sister at this time, and just welcome you all to this space. We are so deeply grateful for you all being in this space today. And for those of you who are more familiar with the work of Em Down NOLA, you will know our purpose and you will know our reason for existing. For those of you who might be coming into this space or getting acquainted with this work for the first time, we like to make sure that everyone is very clear about why we exist. As an organization, we exist for the purpose of removing all symbols to white supremacy from the landscape of New Orleans, to include that name New Orleans, by the way. So let me say this again. We exist for the purpose of removing all symbols to white supremacy from the landscape of New Orleans as a much necessary part of the struggle toward racial and economic justice. And we feel that it's very important for people to understand it's not just about symbols, but it's about what those symbols represent and how they show up in the form of systems. And so at this time, to further ground us and do a land acknowledgement, I would like to play for you some words from our other revolutionary sister, Sierra, a member of the Choctaw Nation. And so we're going to ask that you would listen very attentively to her words. We feel that you could not hear them more. You could not ever hear them enough. So I'm going to go ahead and play this for you.
Hello everyone, my name is Sierra Lagarde and I'm a member of the Bayou Lacombe Band of Choctaw located in Lacombe, Louisiana. I'd like to begin by saying Yokokachiro. Thank you very much to the other members of Em Down NOLA for giving me this opportunity to speak. You in the crowd who are here today in solidarity in our fight to decolonize history. New Orleans 300. Bulbancha, 3,000. Let that sink in. As we stand here today, let us recognize this land acknowledgement where everywhere you step in this city, every balcony you see and every beautiful view you admire is all on native land. May we remember the Achapatula, the Chawasha, the Oklapisa, the Bayukokla, the ancient Achafakti, the Chota, and many other tribes of peoples who lived here before, not in New Orleans, but in the city in which my tribe call Bulbancha, the land of many tongues. We are here today because we are tired of being surrounded by false narratives. Where everywhere we look in this city, we see these monumental statues dedicated to these so-called monumental men, like Andrew Jackson and like Jean-Baptiste Bienville. These men were never great. Okay, they were never great, but rather are the very illusion of greatness because all of their so-called achievements were done through the systematic exploitation and suffering of Native and Black peoples. When I look at the Bienville statue, I see a false representation of a Chitimacha man sitting defeated next to a tall, standing Jean-Baptiste Bienville. But Bienville never founded New Orleans in 1718. Why? Because it was an already established city inhabited by many of our indigenous communities. But that's not written in history books, now is it? When I see the Jackson Monument, I see him sitting victoriously on his horse, relishing in his new title of Savior of the Crescent City, when in fact, he would have never won without the help of the enslaved and Choctaw people. Well, you know what? I say no more. If there is anyone in this country who knows what our Black brothers and sisters are going through, it's us. We are perpetually linked by the systematic oppression and racism that have bound us together since the founding of this country. They were taken from their land, and we had our land taken from us. But make no mistake, we Indigenous and Black peoples are not defeated. We are the true victors of their oppression because we are still here. And guess what? We are not going anywhere. We survived here in Bulbancha and across Indian country, and we will dismantle the legacies of these white suppressors. Andrew Jackson's hero of the Mississippi and Bienville's founder of New Orleans, and show that we as Indigenous people stand with our Black brothers and sisters, our oldest allies, in both our fights for equality and justice. Now, before I go, I would like to share with you a few days ago of what I dreamed. that I was standing at the base of the Bienville Monument, and as I looked up, I saw that the statue had actually been removed, that all of this that was left was a blank pedestal, that all that was left was a blank pedestal, an opportunity for a true telling of history. And to my surprise, that same morning, Angela actually contacted me and asked me to record this message. This gives me the feeling that something powerful is about to happen, and that this is a legacy that I am happy to say we are all a part of. Yoko Kichiro, thank you very much, and stay safe, everyone.
We thank Sierra for those words. And so now I turn it back into the hands of our amazing Vanna. Thank you, Vanna.
Thank you, Angela. That was a perfect example of what we talking about, what we on here for. My tech was messing up. We just, come on, pick it up, keep going. My sister, I appreciate you. I really appreciate it. That was a micro lesson right there. So we're gonna go straight into reading our political statement for the forum. So throughout the history of Black people's presence in the United States, we, along with the indigenous inhabitants of this land, all people of color, have endured countless onslaughts against our lives at the hands of a system rooted in white inferiority, heteropatriarchy, and capitalism. Because our problems are rooted in the very belief systems that shape this society, they can be found in all aspects of it, from housing to food justice to education to employment to the criminal justice system to healthcare, and certainly in the medical industry as a whole. This October, at a time when Black and brown women's rights to their own body are constantly under attack by state violence, from the lack of justice for Breonna Taylor to the forced hysterectomies to the women of color in ICE concentration camps in Georgia, Em Down NOLA chose to provide socio-historic context to the mistreatment of Black folks by the medical industry as we investigate how this has trended all throughout this country's racist history. We connect those dots to the present as we take a look at how white inferiority created the pre-existing conditions that have shaped the disparity of conditions for Black and brown folks during the age of COVID. Finally, we contrast the ills we have faced with a look at some of the ancient healing traditions that our community healers are still teaching and practicing to this day. In this way, we aim to highlight some of the inherited systems of belief and practice that need to be taken down, and some of the systems of belief and traditions that need to be built up. As always, we aim to diagnose the bleak circumstances of our present moment, which are but mere symptoms of the deeper, older virus of white inferiority. By placing them within their historical context, an all Black women panel of community organizers and healers leads the charge. Stick around for a brief Q&A after to find out how you can stay involved with the work and to get tied in. So we're gonna go straight in to our first speaker. I'm delighted to have her in the space as well. She participated in our Revolutionary Artists Week in the past year, which was magical. Nana Sula was initiated in Ghana, West Africa in 2007 at the Shrine of Impohima, please help me, and has studied the mysteries of Ghana since 1992. Her initiation title is Nana Okomfo Kokwe Ama Tawia. Nana Sula has also been a student of Ifa Orisha Mysteries of Nigeria since 1985. In 2014, Sula Spirit authored and produced the book and CD project entitled Spirit of the Orisha. Um, she holds a Bachelor of Arts degree with distinguished honors in African Studies and English Literature from Rutgers University in New Jersey in 1994. She's traveled extensively throughout Africa and the Caribbean as a volunteer with Operations Crossroads Africa. And she has an extensive bio that we can share in the comments and the links to find out more and deeper about all the work and the gift that she is to our community. But I'm going to turn it over to her. Thank you. I appreciate you being here.
Yes, blessed love to everyone. It's so beautiful to see all these beautiful faces. And I'm just going to jump right in. I want to talk about how do we stay grounded in this time, especially in the work that you all are doing, and how do we not internalize some of the sadness and internalize some of the anger and internalize some of the things so that we can keep doing the work. As spiritualists, as organizers, our work is very similar in that we're coming to uplift the people, we're coming to elevate the people. But in that, we have to make sure that we take care of ourselves. So I want to talk about building our protection shields. I want to talk about how we build up things in our tool bag to be able to assist us when we're sad, when we're heavy, when we're when we have to call our power down, when we have to calm it down and cool it down. There are things that we need to know about. And it's not just connected to the Orisha tradition. It's connected to the grounding tradition, or to the tradition of our native ancestors, whether it be indigenous Native American ancestors, whether it be African ancestors. There's ancestors from many walks of life. And so we all have a practice of making sure that we put our sorrow and our things either into the water or into the ground. So I want to first talk about that, some grounding rituals and some ways that we can bury some of these issues that we're dealing with. And this might be something good to do as a group, as your collective group, doing a ritual that may allow you to write perhaps on a piece of paper, or even speak it out loud or quietly to yourself into a hole in the ground, but to really write a note and really let these things out, whatever it may be that you're carrying, to be able to write a note. And then everybody perhaps go take a walk into a wooded area and bury it in the wooded area, bury it in the ground, take it into the earth, because the earth can take our pain. The earth is the medicine source. And so often when we're heavy, people will tell us to stand on the grass, and that's very helpful, because the grass and the earth will take our pain and take our worries and take our imbalance. The same is true if we lay on the ground, and the same is true if we bury our issues. So sometimes you might create a hole even in your backyard, or designate a place in your backyard where you dig a hole by a tree, and when things get heavy, you speak your troubles into the hole. And you ask that the ancestors, indigenous, that God and the ancestors take your issues from you. I also want to talk about the importance of water and being sure to take spiritual baths in this time, especially with the work that you're doing. You must wash it off. You must be able to wash off every night any burdens that come upon you. And in this work that we all are doing, people carry spirits. There are spirits in the work, there's spirits in the people, there's spirits in the resistance, there's spirit in the oppressors, there's spirit in the remembrance of these lynchings and oppressive things. And so we have to find a way to wash that off. So I highly suggest that you all either pick flowers or get a bouquet of flowers and be able to take those flowers and put them in a bowl. You can also, when you take the flowers and put them in a bowl, you can just hold the bowl up to your mouth and pray over them. The desires of your heart, everything you desire, if it is peace that you desire, if it is wellness that you desire, if it is balance that you desire to stay in the work, if it is a removal of sadness, if it is joy that you need poured upon your head, like a baptism, whatever it is, speak it into the flowers, the petals of the flowers. And then you can either put those into your bath water, and remember that you have power, you have ultimate power, because you are a godly divine source. So our connection, our Ori connects us to the divine God source. So in that connection, you have power. So you can ask that the power come through you and into the water ask the creator to come through you, the angels, the ancestors, all those of power to come through you, to charge the water with what you need, to charge the water with the healing energy, to charge it with what you need removed from you. And then you put the flowers in. You might want to put a little Florida water in or a little frankincense. But when you get in, remember to call your ancestors in. It's those grandmothers, grandfathers, grandfathers, grandmothers, grandfathers, grandfathers, 7 to 10, 20 generations back that understand very much the struggle, that understand very much the oppression, that understand very much the ritual tools they had to have to make it through the times they were in. You know, when there wasn't a church or a spiritual house or elay they could go to, well, what did they do? They went to the earth, they went to the tree, they went to the water, you know, they relied on the medicine of the earth. They sprinkled tobacco on the earth to honor the ancestors and the indigenous ones that have walked before them. So when you get into the tub, be sure to turn your hands into a cup and baptize yourself. I call my grandmother so-and-so. I call my grandfather blah, 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 blah. I call my auntie so-and-so and so. May you come and coat me. May you walk with me. May you give me the power I need to do this work. May you give me the power I need to elevate the souls that come into my midst. May I be the vessel of light. May I be the hollow bone through which you travel. Because we are the hollow bones. And it is the spirit that comes through us. So it has no ego attachment at all. It's all about how are we going to be the vessel? Can we give ourselves up to be the vessel that this earth needs for the healing? And we're all healers. We're all healers. We all got this. We just have to remember, and ask our elders, our grandparents and aunties and uncles and all those, whether they were juju root workers or not. They could have been church leaders. They could have been ushers in the church. They could have been in the choir. They could have been not in a church at all. They could have been in the mosque. They could have anywhere, but they come to guide us. They come to guide our boat in this time. So let us not forget our ancestors and let us not forget our angels to protect us when we're out there doing this work, when we're out there helping to heal humanity. May we remember, you know, the power that we hold, and may we remember our ancestors and our angels. You know, we are all given angels at the time of our birth. We're assigned angels for our incarnation. And these particular angels and ancestors know that it is their job to guard us. And so we must call them down. We must call them forward to help us. So I really want to, you know, urge you all to make sure you remember that we all have a spiritual tool bag that is created for us from birth. In some of our tool bags that we carry around in life, some of us have frankincense in there, some of us have sage, some of us have a little, you know, oil for anointing. Some of us have a sacred text like a Bible or the Quran. Some people have prayer beads, you know, and some don't have anything physical in it. It's the tool bag in here. What we say in Ghana is that we are the moving shrines. We are the shrines in motion. We are the altars in motion. So everything that we bring to the earth should be of light. We don't have time to be light 1 minute and then act like we don't know the light the next minute. It just don't work that way. You're either going to have your feet in there or you're not. And it's the same with the organizing work. You're not going to have one toe in and then decide next week I'm scared. Because you made a commitment to not be afraid, right? So because we're human, we're going to be afraid. I mean, come on, we're human. There's stuff that's going to scare us, you know? And in that, we just have to know that we have the tool bag. We have the holy angels. We have Yeshua. We have Allah. We have Buddha. We have Krishna. We have whoever you call. But we're not alone. And that's the main thing. When we're in this struggle, when fear seizes us, we have to say, angels come. Holy Spirit, come. Grandmother so-and-so, come. Grandfather Wapawa, come. So it really helps us know that we have the army around us. It's helped me survive this life. I don't know that I would have survived a lot of the things in my lifetime had it not been for the army, you know. And whether you knew that grandmother or grandfather or even father or mother, whether you knew them or not, they still poured their blood into making you. So I urge you all to just, you know, build your altars, have a sacred prayer closet for yourself, have a place where you can go and rejoice and cry, you know, build it and put the pictures of your faces of your ancestors there, you know, and put everything that's sacred to you there so that you have a place to go. And this is the medicine of our ancestors. These are the traditional ways. You know, for some, they smoked the pipe. They smoked a pipe to medicine pipe in their ritual circles. And some, the ritual circles, they burned frankincense. In some ritual circles, they pray the Holy Ghost, to come. So it's all whatever is your medicine, the medicine of your people. There's no right or wrong. There's no, this is wrong. No, it's all part of whatever medicine calls you. So I'm just here to remind us about the tool bag, remind us about our divine connection to light. And we are the light. We are the divine light that this planet needs, and we have to know that, and we have to walk like it, talk like it, be like it. So I want to say I admire what you all are doing. I admire what all of us are doing to stand for humanity. This is about elevating humanity, uplifting humanity. This is a time that we're in. It's not a black or white struggle. It's not a, you this and I'm that. It's a humanity thing. We're all on this sacred cosmic wheel of life. So what will we bring to the circle? Will we bring confusion or will we bring light? So I thank all of you for what you do. And I thank all of us, that are keeping the watch at night, spirit keepers at night. When all are sleeping, Mama Denise, you know what it is. Y'all know what it is. Sometimes you wake up, don't be surprised if you start feeling like, I got insomnia now. It's not insomnia. The angels need you to get up and be praying. If it's 2 a.m, it ain't insomnia. They have an assignment for you. It's assignment. That's what it is. So don't be alarmed if it's happening like that, because the ancients want to speak to us. They can't speak when the earth is busy. They have to speak when it's quiet. So get up, light a candle, and ask them what they need you to know. What do you need me to know? What is the communication you have for me? What do you need me to tell the people? What do you need me to tell myself? So I'm very grateful to be among such powerful beings, and we're not different from one from the other. We're all here to do the work, and so all of us are doing our part on the cosmic wheel of life. May we continue to do good work, and may we continue to lift each other up. May we eradicate backbiting, and I don't like this one and that one, all that's foolishness. We don't even have time for that right now. So it's love. If it's not love, it don't need to be nothing. Yeah. So bless all of you. And I love y'all. That's all.
Love you. Thank you. We appreciate this gift that you've given us tonight. I'm going to let everybody just take a good deep breath after that one. Process that. Take some of that in. Allow your cells to absorb it. Thank you. So we're going to keep rolling because we got this energy going to my next revolutionary sister, who I love, who, if you've had a hug from this person, you can ascend and transcend and implode and come back again. So I'll leave it at that. Sister Antoinette is going to speak to us about Henrietta Lacks, the Syphilis Experiment, and all the other things that we need to hear tonight.
Oh, thank you all so much. Thank you, Nana Sula, just for giving us that amazing offering about the knowledge that we inherently have, and just the protection and assistance and love that our ancestors have always been giving us. I think so many times we forget, right? We forget.
Yes.
And thank you for the reminder. I first want to say that, we've been hitting these streets, so my voice is a little raggedy. Please extend me that grace while I present this talk. And another thing I want to just say, and I want to be completely honest and transparent, that the things that I'm going to talk about today are really heavy, really, really heavy. When we're talking about just the abuse of Black bodies through this medical industrial complex. And this is a history that not a lot of us are privy to, because they're not going to teach us these things in these capitalist school systems intended to mislead and abuse our minds, bodies, and spirits. So I just want to, be very transparent on the front end for that. We're about to hear some hard things, but I think it's necessary that we hear the hard things so we don't repeat the mistakes of the past, and also that we know what we need to tear down. We need to know, right? We don't need to be blinded by revisionism. We need the whole sacred truth so we can move towards justice and liberation, okay? All right, so I'm going to begin. Since the first kidnapped Africans were brought to the Americas against their will, ripped from everything in person they knew and loved, torn from every source of comfort and heritage, to be set in the chains of chattel enslavement, we have been the very unwilling subjects of trauma, abuse, and hurt. Africans forced into chattel enslavement, labor and lives were snatched from their bodies to produce profits for the agricultural and industrial sectors of capitalism. Yet there is a sector that has used the bodies of Black people from the inception of this country to right now, and that's the medical industry. Slavery and racism has shaped American medicine in numerous and horrific ways. Racism was used to justify the inhumane and debased treatment of Africans, whether it was the belief that Black people felt less pain, were naturally sexually promiscuous, were dirty and therefore susceptible to infection, and intellectually defective. The medical community said Black people suffered from diseases that made them want to run away from their enslavers, or made them lazy and shiftless therefore causing them to mishandle their owner's property. Mainstream science of the time said that Black people were of a different species, and Black characteristics were a demonstration of mass imperfections of the Black body. These scientists ignored the logical inconsistencies in their reasoning and used this flawed reasoning to inflict terror on Black people. Black people are still experiencing the repercussions of these racist ideologies in the medical field today, ranging from getting inadequate access to healthcare, implicit bias regarding our understanding of our own bodies and not being heard by physicians, as well as increased cases of injury and or death at the hands of these medical systems. We just have to look at the mortality rate of Black birthers to see the truth of our circumstance. The intersection of the medical industry and the racial discrimination and exploitation is known as medical apartheid. This evening, I'm going to speak on 3 historical examples specifically. Henrietta Lacks, the Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. In this motherfucker, I'm using adult language because we're adults here, and if we not adults here, you're getting the language anyway. This racist piece of shit, James Marion Sims. So let's start with him. James Marion Sims, considered the father of American gynecology for his work in vesicovaginal fistulas, which are the openings between the vagina, bladder, and rectum that led to incessant incontinence, extreme pain, reoccurring infection, and odor that affected many women, Black and white, who survived difficult childbirth in the era of chattel enslavement. Sims was an important figure in the history of experimentation on Black people who conducted nightmarishly painful and degrading experiments without anesthesia on a group of enslaved women. Sims was a doctor who, by his own admission, found his medical training that consisted of 1.5 years of medical school mediocre and indifferent, and was unsure how he would make his fortune in the medical field. He moved from Philadelphia to the antebellum South to start practicing on the plantations of Alabama. There, Sims conducted horrific experiments on enslaved women and children. Sims believed that Black mothers are to blame for the high death rates of their infant children due to their immoral and intellectual failures. Sims cited the filth and laziness, as well as limited intellectual capacities of Black mothers, to be the cause of neonatal tetanus, which many of the enslaved infants suffered from. Neonatal tetanus is caused by bacterial infection that emanates from an animal's manure and thrives in wounds such as healing umbilical stumps. While Sims perceived the connection between hygiene and infection, the inherent racism of the time and the racism that he harbored within himself did not allow him to contend with the true source of the children's infections, which were the squalid living conditions that the enslaved were forced to live in by plantation owners. On a June day in 1948, Sims was called in to assist 17-year-old enslaved woman, Anarcha, on her third day of a very difficult labor. Sims used forceps, which caused a vaginal tear that formed into a vesico-vaginal fistula. Deemed unfit for work by the plantation owner, Anarcha was sold to Sims. Sims, knowing that curing the fistula would lead to his fortune, acquired a total of 11 enslaved women to start his experiment. Sims required the women to undress completely, then kneel on their hands and knees, while he and several other physicians took turns inserting their fingers in a special speculum to expose the women's vaginas into fume, which at that time was an extreme violation under Victorian standards, something that he would never do to a white woman, never. Sims wrote, "I saw everything as no man had ever seen before." Sims invited Montgomery physicians, apprentices, and prominent citizens to his shack-like lab, adding to the humiliation and degradation of these women. Anarcha, Betsy, Lucy, and one unnamed enslaved woman were the prime subjects for Sims' surgical experiments. Sims refused to use anesthesia during these terrible surgeries, stating that his procedures were not painful enough to justify the trouble and risk attending to administering anesthesia. Although he would later use anesthesia when he performed the perfected surgery on white women. For 3 years, these Black women were brutalized, suffered repeated life-threatening infections, subject to forced addiction to morphine, which Sims would only administer after the surgery as a form to control the women and keep them compliant. Once Sims successfully completed the surgery on Anarcha, the only one of the women who was healed, he rose to the top of his field. Sims moved north and founded the New York Women's Hospital. He traveled abroad and he served the elite. Across 2 continents, monuments, memorials, and clinics sprung up bearing his name and likeness, including a statue in Central Park, New York, erected in 1934. This monument to Sims' sadistic legacy has rightfully been taken down. Organizers, and I want to say their names because it's important, so much of our work is erased from history. So much of Black resistance is erased from history. So whenever we have the opportunity to state the names of organizers who are on the forefront of pushing forward our humanity and freedom, we must honor them. So these women's names were Darlisa Chalvier, Jewel Cadet, who goes by them they, Rosanna Mercedes, Alexis Cody, and Jamila Felix. These are the people that you saw in this beautiful flyer for the forum tonight. So them, among others, demanded that the removal of the statue and saw victory in 2018. Sims was a racist through and through, a known supporter of the Confederacy who said it was a dreadful mistake to give the Negro franchise. Although he perfected a technique that saved many people's lives, it was on the back of enslaved women. These women were intentionally erased from history until very recently. We only know 3 names: Henrietta, Betsy, and Lucy. May we continue to lift up their legacy and lift it high. So next, the Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. The venereal disease section of the U.S. Public Health Service formed a study in 1932 at its national headquarters. There, the head doctor, Talia Frio Clark, is credited with founding this study. His initial goal was to follow untreated syphilis in a group of African-American men, intentionally. African-American men for 6 months to a year, and then follow up with a treatment phase. Clark stated that the rather low intelligence of the African-American population, depressed economic conditions, and the common promiscuous sex relations not only contribute to the spread of syphilis, but is the prevailing indifference with regards to treatment by Blacks. Macon County, Alabama in the 1920s had some of the highest rates of syphilis in the country. In 1932, the U.S. Public Health Department, in collaboration with Tuskegee University, and I'm going to pause right here because I need y'all to realize the intentional connection of the exploitation of Black bodies by not only these medical institutions, but also these academic institutions. This is not by coincidence. This is not a mistake. This stuff goes hand in hand. They work together for the oppression of Black people. So Tuskegee University, which is a historically Black college, used the guise of free blood tests and health screenings to study untreated syphilis. Over 600 men in a population of majority Black sharecroppers signed up. The promise of free medical treatment, usually reserved only for emergencies among the rural Black population of Macon County, was what secured subjects' cooperation into the study. So these are men who wanted access to healthcare. They only went to the doctor, only accessed those modern day technologies of their time because 1, they were out of their reach economic wise. 2, you know, if we're leaning into our ancestral knowledge, you know, we already know that Black people have a historical legacy. Even at this time, these men knew that there was a historical legacy of abuse in the medical field, but their need was so great that they were like, we're going to get this free medical care, let's sign up. Oh, 339 of the men had latent syphilis and 201 men were not infected. As an incentive to participate, the men were told that they would receive free medical care, but actually received placebos, as well as ineffective diagnostic procedures, such as dangerous and painful spinal taps as treatment. The men were told that the study would last for 6 months. Even after the treatment funding was lost, the study continued without notifying the men that they would never be treated. For over 40 years, the men were intentionally not given penicillin treatment. That was the common treatment for syphilis since 1947. Data was collected and the men were never told the whole truth. Even if the men moved from Macon County, they were tracked and denied life-saving treatment. Study clinicians could have chosen to treat all of the syphilic subjects and close the study after the funds ran out. They could have split off a control group, testing them with the penicillin. Instead, they continued the study without treatment for any participants. They withheld treatment and information about it from the subject. In addition, scientists prevented participants from accessing syphilis treatment programs available to other residents in the area. During the course of the study, there were several doctors directly and indirectly connected to the research who dissented against the study, citing immorality, poor scientific practices, and brazen unethical practice. These dissenters were largely ignored by the Center of Disease Control, the CDC, and the study's authors, who wanted to continue the study until all of the subjects died and had been autopsied. That was the priority, the death of these Black men, and then have access to their deceased lifeless bodies so they could continue the research. The study continued under numerous public health supervisors until 1972, when a leak to the press resulted in its termination on November 16th of that year. The victims of the study, all African American, included numerous men who died of syphilis, 40 wives who contracted the disease, and 19 children born with congenital syphilis. All of this could have been prevented. The surviving men advocated for not only monetary compensation and medical reparations for the men and their descendants, but for an apology by the government of the US under the Clinton administration. The victims and their families won $10 million and free medical treatment to surviving participants and surviving family members infected as a consequence of the study. Henrietta Lacks. Henrietta Pleasant was born to a poor sharecropper family in rural Virginia. Upon marrying Dave Lacks, Henrietta and her family moved to Turner Station, Maryland, in search of work and economic stability. On January 29, 1951, Lacks was sent to Johns Hopkins, the only hospital in the area that treated Black patients, because she felt a knot in her womb. She had previously told her cousins about the knot, and they were like, girl, you're just pregnant. But she was pregnant, it was true. But after giving birth, Lacks had a severe hemorrhage. Her primary care doctor tested her for syphilis, which came back negative, and referred her back to Johns Hopkins. There, her Dr. Howard W. Jones took a biopsy of a mass found on Lacks's cervix for laboratory testing. Soon after, Lacks was told that she had a malignant epidural carcinoma of the cervix. Lacks was treated with radium tube inserts as an inpatient and discharged a few days later with instructions to return for X-ray treatments as a follow-up. During her treatment, 2 samples were taken from Lacks's cervix without her permission or knowledge. One sample was of healthy tissue, and the other was of cancerous tissue. On August 8, 1951, Lacks, who was 31 years old, went to Johns Hopkins for a routine treatment session and asked to be admitted due to continued severe abdominal pain. Like all of these things that I said in the beginning, I need y'all to just like hear how the constant disregard for Black folks knowing that something is wrong with their own body is ignored, and how in many instances we have to beg beg for adequate treatment. This is happening right now, today. This is happening today. Ooh, okay. So she was admitted for the continued severe abdominal pain. She received blood transfusions and remained in the hospital until her death on October 4th, 1951. A partial autopsy showed that the cancer had metastasized throughout her entire body. Now, the cell samples harvested without Henrietta's knowledge or consent were given to George Otto Gay, a physician and cancer researcher at Johns Hopkins. The cells from the cancerous sample eventually became known as the Gila immortal cell line. Henrietta's cells were used to transform medicine. Vaccines can now be tested, and let the experiments completed that would have been unthinkable only months earlier. An immediate advance was the Salk Polo vaccine that was tested and perfected on HeLa cells produced by Tuskegee, there they are again, Institute Labs in 1952, only a year after Henrietta's death. After the polio vaccine, HeLa cells were in high demand and put into mass production. Here comes the capitalism. They were mailed to scientists around the globe for research into cancer, AIDS, the effects of radiation and toxic substances, gene mapping, and countless other scientific pursuits. HeLa cells were the first human cells successfully cloned in 1955 and have since been used to test human sensitivity to tape, glue, cosmetics, and many other products, capitalism. Since the 1950s, scientists have grown as much as 50 million metric tons of her cells, and there are almost 11,000 patents involving HeLa cells. In March 2013, researchers published the DNA sequence of the genome of a strand of HeLa cells. The Lacks family discovered this when the author Rebecca Sloot informed them. There were objections from Lacks's family about the genetic information that was available for public access. Jerry Lacks White, a grandchild of Henrietta Lacks, said, "The biggest concern was privacy. What information was actually going to be out there about our grandmother? And what information can they obtain from her sequencing that would tell them about her children and grandchildren and going down the line?" That same year, another group working on a different HeLa cells line genome under the National Institutes of Health funding submitted it for publication. In August 2013, an agreement was announced between the family and the NIH that gave the family some control and access to the cell's DNA sequence found in the two studies, along with a promise of acknowledgement in scientific papers. In addition, 2 family members will now join the 6-member committee, which will regulate the sequence data. Now, I know that I just poured in a lot of information in a small amount of time, and we're gonna have moments where we're gonna have to process that, right? But I just wanna talk just a little bit about the context and the clues and connections that we must make. I want us to look at the pattern of how white supremacist medical systems demonize the Black body, all while profiting off of the Black body. Sims, during chattel enslavement. In the 1930s, the Tuskegee Syphilis Experiment. And now, modern day time, Henrietta Lacks' cells are still being used still being used. This extraction seems to be as American as apple pie. For all of the wonders that our ancestors were forced to give American medical science, we are not benefiting. Henrietta's family is still poor in Maryland, suffering from a laundry list of medical issues, and all the academics were willing to give them is Henrietta's name on a building and a yearly weekend of talks at the universities that violated her consent and greatly benefited from that violation. The medical industry, from pharmaceutical companies, research hospitals and schools, and individual doctors have made billions of dollars off of her body. The men of the Tuskegee experiment and their families have won compensation and an apology, but sorry does not bring back the lives lost. The legacies ended, and the beloved family members made ancestors too soon. Anarcha, Betsy, Lucy, and all of the unnamed enslaved women who went through unspeakable horrors so that a mediocre white man can toast with the rich and further entrench himself and his legacy into white supremacy. These are the symbols and systems that must be banished from any future reverence. These historical atrocities form the pathway for modern day medical atrocities. What is the history that future medical professionals are learning in the halls of academia today? Is it this revisionist bullshit that the rest of us are learning at these raggedy ass schools in our own community? If we want to build a future where consent, humanity, and learning and life is honored, we must contend with the horrors of the American medical system's legacy. We must be courageous in dismantling the lies of the past to build the possibilities of our future. Forward ever, backwards never. And I just want to shout out this amazing book that I used as a reference for the majority of my talk, Medical Apartheid by Harriet A. Washington, a brilliant Black woman who has gathered just so much, accurate history of our people and our connection to this American medical industrial complex. I highly, highly recommend that y'all read it. It's full of like really factual information, but it's not a hard read. And some of the things, like, it will resonate with you in your bones. We're contending right now, and I know my sister Avery is going to speak on what's going on right now with COVID-19. But when Black people are suspicious of medical system, it's for a reason. There's a historical legacy of so. So I want us to just think about that. I'm really, really excited to get to the Q&A portion, and just so excited to hear the rest of my revolutionaries speak their truth to power. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Look, I'm still leaning and just listening and into the vibe. Thank you, Internet. It's heavy information, but it's information that empowers and informs our work. So I'm grateful. So next, I'm gonna keep rolling through. We have Mama Denise. Mama Denise is a 25-year multi-issue organizer, parent of 7, come through, Mama, healer, spiritual intersectionalist, and business owner who knows the power of mind, body, and spirit wholeness. She's a practitioner of meditation, Eastern African diasporic and indigenous wholeness modalities. You graduate of the University of Kansas, St. Paul, and Central Schools of Theology, American Holistic Institution of Theology, International Metaphysical Ministry, etc. You complementary health and wellness training with a host of effective spiritual, emotional, mental, and body practitioners. She builds relationships that enhance and heal the world, a gem in our community. We welcome you, Mama Denise.
Badasi, I'm going to invite you to do something, and Quest invite you to share screen. You all clap your hands twice, pat your chest, and rub your hands and slap them inside of your thigh, like clap, clap, tap, tap, clap, clap, tap, tap, clap, clap. All right, drink some water. You only need to do it like three rounds. It's a way to loosen up everything that has been absorbed in this presentation. It loosens up the heaviness that settles in your body, and it gets your energy flowing so that it moves it so that you can flush it. That's why we're drinking some water. You have to flush it. Many organizers are, tell me when we're ready, Quest. Many organizers are highly sensitive, fairly empathic, and so we pick up things along the way, and that manifests in our body. So we have an opportunity to do what Mama Sula said, and I would just say all that she said, to make sure that you clean not only your aura, but you loosen up things that become stagnant and attach on your physical system, which then manifest in many different ways. The history shared with you by our sister is how I got to healthcare and wholeness. In my graduate program in when I was preparing for medical school, I was open to, are we there yet? Oh yeah, we're good. I was introduced to the conversation about why folks don't have the kind of healthcare that they need. And it's systemic, it's intentional, and remember, our illness supports everybody else's wealth. And so what I invested a lot of my career in is figuring out how to be a good bioethicist, how to be a spiritual informant, and how this occurs, and how to be an evolving practitioner. I believe that a simple way is around using our own ability to be tactile with ourselves, our ability to be spiritually attuned and how that manifests, and our ability to move, because moving serves as a channel. So I want to talk about one modality in particular, but there are very many. And I want to talk about how the healing points in our ears will help heal our bodies. I want to talk about how the essential organs of the lung, kidneys, and livers are the major hosts for organizer life and work, grief and courage, fear and willpower, anger and generosity. I don't need to tell this to you based upon what you just heard, but I want to remind you that anytime you do work and you're under oppression repeatedly, that you're going to be weakened in the process systemically, emotionally. It will impact spirit and how you think. So racism, all these studies are supportable by what was read and what you know yourself. Racism is associated with higher rates of stress, which causes high blood pressure. Now, as our sister said early, this is indigenous people as well. People who are land people. It appears to influence inflammation, and it doesn't appear, sometimes you just get a swelling and you don't know why. Things are stuck. And of course, chronic conditions such as heart disease and kidney disease, they are some of the #1 killers in our community. Unfair treatment of people of color has significant impact on our sleep, our physiological functioning, not only just in midlife, but in early life. One example is that more young men in their 30s and 40s are experiencing erectile dysfunction and impotence. It is also because of the high stress placed on the life of a male's body. Young women have more difficulty conceiving and have difficult birth as a result. That also impacts how we experience our mental sense of wellness, which produces greater distress, depression, stress, emotional distress, anxiety, post-traumatic stress disorder, post-traumatic slave disorder, and suicidal thoughts. These all have an impact and wear and tear on our lives. I point out some things about the primary organs, the lung, the kidneys, and the liver, because that's where we hold things. Most people think about the acupuncture as painful and I'm never going to take a needle, but it's a very simplistic kind of approach. These 5 points in your ear that you see demonstrated by my lovely models here make a big difference in how you experience pain, stress. It makes your blood pressure decrease, helps you detox your system, refocuses your thought. But what I want to draw your attention to is this little ear upside down. Your ear has everything you need to focus on in your body in your ear points. It's called auricular acupuncture. So a good acupuncturist can do most of the work for your body in your ear. My first acupuncturist was an African-American female who was treating a hard-to-heal shoulder injury. And I confess, I played football as a kid. I confess. So everyone tried a lot of things, but that's the only thing that worked. I'm a product of indigenous medicine. My first practitioners were Native American medicine people, indigenous root workers, and herbalism. So I'm an earth person from the very beginning, born with a hole in my heart, just a number of things that the system didn't afford for. They just left me to die and uninsurable. But it was the spiritual component of my life experience that turned the tide for me. So this piece Mama Sula is telling you about very intensely and seemingly not in enough time is about remembering to practice because they all work together. So the 5 points that you saw in people's ears, the Shin Min, helps to alleviate apprehension, fear, and anxiety. And actually, you can put your hand in that little hollow dent in your ear and just squeeze it a little bit, thumb on the back of your ear. Roll it around, see if you can begin to feel a sense of some difference. That will help you reduce your anxiety. So often after I do a needle in somebody's ear, I'll put a little mustard seed in there, and you can just roll it around and pretty soon you'll notice that you're calming down. If you watch a frightful child, frightful children will also just play with their ears. So we can learn from that. The sympathetic point is right in the fold, like the ridge of your nose, right in the fold of that. Some people have an earring there. That also will help reduce your blood pressure. It will help your digestive system. We have more than 72,000 nerve endings in our stomach. Most of us, when we have stress, it shows up in our stomach. And we eat foods just to soothe ourselves because that's a common soother. You feel upset, have a cookie. You feel happy, have ice cream. It's right there in that tummy. That's why soul food is so important. It's like, feed my soul through my belly. But we want to make sure that that also helps your respiratory system. Most of us are shallow breathers. So test. Breathe in through your nose. Hold it, bring it all the way to your abdomen. And now blow out through your mouth. Breathe in through your nose again. Bring it all the way past your throat, past your chest, all the way down to your abdomen. And now blow out your mouth. One more time, breathe in. Bring it all the way down. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it like a balloon. Hold it, fill the balloon up, and slowly let it go out of your mouth. Can you feel the difference in how you begin to calm down? And if you do a series of 3 to 7 breaths, you will regulate how you focus, the pace at which you speak, your heartbeat, and how your vessels in your body will open up just by deep breathing. The third point is the kidney point. It's one of our key organs. The kidney, when we're under constant pursuit, constant pressure, the kidney is the place of fear. Fear lodges in the kidney and it affects our ability to have willpower to do certain things. The kidney is about regulating your body fluids. So when the kidney's in trouble, edema is a big deal. When kidney's in trouble, then your the rest of your circulatory system is also impacted because the heart, liver, and kidney work in constant harmony. And when either of those are out of harmony, then we have difficulty. So the kidney has to be cleansed. The kidney has to be calmed. And the kidney has to be able to function so it will strengthen your nervous system because our lives are about flow. So just breathe in and just breathe out. The liver regulates our emotional balance. Anger, according to Chinese traditional medicine and African medicine, lodges in your liver. It monitors your impulse reactions and behaviors, but it also processes what has to come out of your body. Some people, when they're stressed, they have diarrhea. Just, you got to go to the bathroom, you don't know why. Some people, when they're stressed, they get constipated. You really want to nourish the kidney and the liver so that you have full flow. Otherwise, the bloating occurs, the retention creates more difficulty in suffocating other parts of your circulatory system. Little pressure in your ear, and the kidney point is right underneath the hoof of that ridge on your ear, just underneath that. Just put your fingernail there if you can. You can feel it. The liver is right above that ridge in the hollow of your ear. See where that little ridge is in the hollow of your ear? The last one is the lung. Whenever I do acupuncture, particularly in a person's ears, I know what they're struggling with. The lung point often will bleed a little bit if a person's been in a lot of grief. If the person has gone through a prolonged sorrow, it shows up. So just, you don't have to be committed to all the points, but consider allowing yourself the luxury of 45 minutes to turn this energy around. When I became residential in New Orleans, I realized that talk therapy is good, and I do that. Praying is good, and I do that. Meditation is good, and I do that. But there's a moment when we have to get to the system. We have to get deeper into the systems. We have to open up some things that they've been stuck for so long that you need a little more invasion, minimal invasion. And you find that it makes a big difference in how your body flows. I'm not a drinker, but they say wine is smooth. I would say this is smoother than wine. They say gin will get you right. I'm saying that the calm of this will not only get you right, it will cleanse you out. So if you begin to think about that just a little bit, what you're doing is cleaning out your system. So that's why we flush water. That's why we tap to move this around. And we're going to tap in just a few minutes on a couple of other spots. And lastly, I want to share with you on the slideshow is, you know, why I found this is significant. Tupac Shakur's dad was an acupuncturist. And that fellow was a revolutionary. His son was revolutionary. Even in that, the way people tried to sequester him in incarceration, he was the prophet. One of my friends wrote a book called The Thugged Out Christ, according to Tupac Shakur. Just the revolution does not ever need to be televised, but the speaker and the deliverer of the message must be whole. And so we wonder where people get this keen thought from. It is from the intentionality of nourishing the body, the mind, and the spirit. Auricular acupuncture helps all these things. I don't take pain relievers. I just get acupuncture. I was born with a genetic liver kidney disease. Pain relievers are unhealthy for me, but pain I have. But acupuncture will help relieve chronic pain. It will help migraines. It would help anxiety, insomnia, cancer pain, weight loss, reduce substance use and disorders. It will improve the quality of life and reduce the power of depression. It will help with digestive issues, allergies, trauma, and more. It is minimally invasive. It is something anyone can do. I realized that as a practitioner, I had to do more than just listen to people's story. I had to help them work through a journey. And that's why I do this at this place in my career. Yes, I have a multitude of those other things. You can only get so many degrees upon degrees. It's still about the utility of your life. So is my life a witness to what wellness looks like? So before I leave, I want to give you one other thing. So we did this: clap, clap, tap, tap, push. Do it again. Clap, clap, tap, tap, push, tap, tap, clap, clap, push. That cleans out your lymph nodes. So when you find yourself picking up extra weight, energy, the weight of what you're doing, let it go. Clean out that lymph and just tap your whole body. You can tap underneath your arms. You know, tap your body. Let this stuff loose. Anybody can do this, you know, just move it around. You might have to go to the bathroom a little more. Hit your kidney area, back in the back. Let that stuff let go. You know, that lower back pain that you struggle with? Well, if you're young, you may not, but you could. So here are some other things I want to invite you to consider. It's a technique called emotional freedom tapping. Acupressure is also the same way. Emotional freedom tapping tells your body and your mind to let go. It tells your body and your mind to let go, and then you flush it because you've moved toxins. So what you do is you start off with, let's start off with something simple. I got what, 2 minutes left or something? This is my kind of topic, so help me. I got 2 minutes at least? Okay. So I want you to tap. I want you to think about fear. We talked about the organs. So let's just tap away a little fear. You know, let's start here with the brow. I release fear in my life. Go to the brow. I release, tap 7 times. I release fear in my life. 7, go to the corner of your eye. I release fear in my life. The corner of your eye. You got 7? Go to underneath the center of your eye. I release fear in my life. Go there. 7. Go to underneath your nose. I release fear in my life. Beautiful. Go to the dent in your chin. I release fear in my life. Go your collarbone. I release fear in my life. You got it? Underneath that arm by the bra area. Guys don't wear a bra, but you know. Where your nipple lines up with your rib cage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I release fear in my life. And for me, I go to my kidney on my right side. I release fear in my life. 5. And then top of your head. I release fear in my life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Take a deep breath. Give me a thumbs up if you can feel it. Now, if you do a round of that 3 times, and each time I release fear in my life, I accept my life without fear. And the last one is, I am whole. I release fear, I accept my life without fear, and I am whole. Hitting all those spots, take a deep breath and just drink some water. So it's the brow, and this helps your sinuses. It's the side of your eye, underneath your eye, underneath your nose, right here right between your chin, underneath your lips. This area right here, just open it up. The bone where your brow line is, or your nipples in the center on the side. And for me, I always deliver in the top of your head. Just let it go. And each time you do that, you will find a form of relief. That this will go for insomnia if you cannot sleep. It will go for if you're really giving yourself a lot of hard time and you want to shame yourself. What would happen if I release shame? Because most of the things that happen around racism and oppression is to keep you off balance. And when you're off balance, then you start falling right into the plans of somebody else. So yes, we knock, we rub, and we do needles. We tap, and then we speak what we want. And then you do it in company, so we hold one another accountable. So all of those modalities make a big difference in how well we feel. And sometimes it says, even though I love myself, it's hard to let go of fear. You can say that, but the goal is you want to tap it right out of your system. You want to be mentally, physically, spiritually whole. We were never meant to be separate. The intent of racism and enslavement is to separate our spirit from our body. But we were never made for that to occur. So when I look at my first shoes made by my Choctaw family and my Blackfoot family, I'm clear I was supposed to always be in command of how I walk on the earth. And when the root woman made the tea that removed the phlegm, that healed my respiratory system, I'm clear I'm supposed to be on the earth. When we tap into what Mama Sula said earlier, we begin to tap and release our body. You can even do this on your face to release stress. Just tap around, just go to your hairline, go to that area, you know, right up here by your temple where you hold a little tension. Just tap it, loosen it up. Loosen up that jaw right there, just tap it. Y'all, you feeling it? Yeah, just take a deep breath, drink some water, let it go. Healing is in your hands. When you clap your hands together like this, you wake up your vibration. You can do that, clap your hands and put your hands over your eyes and feel the energy and rub it over the top of your head and down your neck. You are healing yourself with your energy. Well, as you can see, there is more I could say. And at some point, more, given other opportunities, I will say. But we are the ones who can do the change work inside and outside, and not allow what's happening outside to destroy the beautiful us inside. Ashe? Badasi.
Trying to get unmuted. Here I am. I'm Shay. Yeah, that doing the work to stay grounded, elevating your consciousness, moving forward, connecting with the people around you. Yes, I'm so grateful. So we have two more speakers. Next, I'm going to welcome my fiery revolutionary sister. She lives in New Orleans and has been an educator for 3 years. She began engaging in activism at FAMU. She decided that she wanted to dedicate her revolutionary spiritual life to being intentional about education, being intentional about her relationship with the young ones and her work. And she's been a student of IFA for a year, and she's looking forward to exactly what we're talking about here, marrying her spiritual maturity with her community work. So I welcome Avery. Thank you.
Oh, Frank, you make me sound so good. You make me sound so good. I really just have to start in a place of gratitude. Like, whew, we have said and felt and heard and been given a lot tonight. And like, I'm so thankful. I mean, y'all done had me cracking up. Y'all done had me shed a tear. Y'all done made me turn my camera off for a second because I got emotional. I'm beating on my chest and feeling good about it. Like, whew, we always bring a lot with us when we come into this space. And I love that. I love the intersections and how we truly just let ourselves shine in every capacity when we come together. So y'all know me, I really like to speak from the heart when we get into these spaces. And I got my little notebook and I have my little notes, but I really think I am just gonna speak from the heart because everything we heard, and I just, Antoinette, I can't even say nothing but your name right now because when you come correct every time, and you came with your foot on it tonight, on the gas, okay? We uncomfortable. I was uncomfortable, and that's okay because we should be. That is not okay. Nothing that you said or brought to our attention was okay. And to be honest, a lot of my research encompasses, the things that you spoke about. And when I say I'm going to speak from the heart, I mean that at this point, I feel like my only job is to make connections. Like my only place in this place is to make connections right now. So in order to remain intentional, like I like for us to be, we're going to do our 3 deep breaths. We're going to take our moment together. So I just want everybody from the base, from the core of you, not that shallow breathing, that deep breathing that we just learned about, that self-healing, take 3 of those. And on that last exhale, whatever sound you need to make to ground yourself in this space, to exhale whatever heaviness came with the facts that we have heard this evening. Let it out, let it go, let's connect. Final one, I'm gonna get a little loud, y'all. You get a little loud too. That's as far as my voice will let me go because we've been screaming. I consider this our 8th day of action. with our action today being education, being rooted in knowing that we have to continue to know what came before us and where we are now to go any further. That concept of Sankofa, of knowing that you got to go back for what came before you to know what can come after you. So in knowing that and in hearing all of the things that we talked about tonight, I mean, medical apartheid in itself is so heavy. And I had so many starting points for myself when I thought about where this research would go, not only in the history of our ancestor Henrietta, not in the disgusting display of power over those who just wanted to be healthy and whole, that Tuskegee University and its accomplices, because we're going to talk about this like it's the crime that it is, their accomplices showed when disregarding Black bodies for the sake of capitalism, because that's what it came back down to. If in any of these stories, as I know them and as I know the information, nobody was seeking to help people. Nobody was seeking to help these men or these women or these members of the Black nation who just wanted to live and who didn't want to be in pain. Henrietta, who wanted to be alive for her many children, and her husband, who died far younger than she truly needed to. They just wanted care. And these doctors, these people wanted notoriety. They wanted profit. And so when I say that my job is to make connections, all I'm doing is being our highlighter tonight. All I'm saying is look at this underlying thing in the text, because nothing I'm saying you can't go and look at for yourself. Nothing I'm saying I don't have references to back me up. These are all underlying things that we know to be true. And one of the main things that I had written for myself in these notes is that this shit not even a secret agenda. Nothing about this is covert. Nothing about this is hidden. Nothing about this is apologetic. And there are no signs of it being voluntarily stopped for the unethical mess that it is. And we know why. It's not designed that way. The connections are meant to stay there. That connection between research and capitalism, that connection between building your career off of pieces of stolen body, that you scraping somebody's cells, somebody's foundation, somebody's genetic code that you stole. You are injecting people with things that they don't know, they have no idea, under false pretenses. You are making playgrounds and petri dishes of whole ass bodies for profit, for notoriety, for property, because you're going to go and open up that private practice. You're going to go and open up that office. You're going to put your name on all that medical research. You're going to put them patents out on them HeLa cells. You're going to make sure that you get yours for your groundbreaking research. But you're negating the fact that there are whole legacies, whole bodies, whole generations of people attached to your career. It's not a secret, and it's not stopping, because we can still see it now. And I thank all of our people who go into these holistic practices. I thank you, Mama Denise, for coming and sharing everything you said tonight. As a person who, you know, is that empath that you talk about, has all the anxieties, you know, has all the seasonal and regular and Tuesday depressions. I keep everything up my sleeve. I don't choose to take that medication. I don't even like telling them people my business for real. But I keep them essential oils on me. And I keep it in the bag, because I know that at the very base level, what we have is what we need, because our ancestors knew it. And being in Ifa, I thank my people, my community in that so much, because I have learned so much about what is just around us, about what I already have, about being present with myself, about that meditation, about just maneuvering my hands, my energy different. the power of my tongue being different. And I can see the changes. And I know it to be true. And so when I think about what's happening today and all of us flocking to these doula practices and all of us flocking to be in community with each other as new lives are being brought into the world, and I'm speaking on birth doulas and death doulas, we taking care of each other in all of these practices. And so I appreciate that, because it means that we're building better fortification for what we know is not built for us. That same fear that I get out and talk about when we in the streets, about waking up in the morning and being afraid of simple things that those of the rich ruling class take wholly for granted. And I'm gonna get to that. Oh, I'm gonna get to that. I think about how I don't even want to go to the doctor. And I'm blessed enough to have insurance through my job. There was a long period of time that I didn't have insurance because I was working a series of part-time jobs. And I learned a lot in that period for myself about holistic medicine, about what I can go snag from the Whole Foods or from the farmer's market or from the community healer to make myself feel better, because I don't trust those offices that I'm going to. I don't trust that business I'm walking into. That business I'm walking into that is getting paid to maximize my dollar. They're going to treat me. They're not going to cure what I have. And that's the best case scenario if they even listen. I feel that fear every day. And I know that it's so common for us, for Black people, to the point where there's whole marketing campaigns targeted at getting us to go to the doctor. We don't go. That is a cultural thing for us. And I can't be mad at that, because it's self-preservation. And so, oh, that's my time check. See, this is how we know I done got excited, y'all. Let me wheel us back in. When I bring us to that connection, my main connection really for COVID is the connection between education, which is why Tuskegee hit me so hard, and the connection between profit as it stands, and how education is being used as a stepping stone for people to make a profit off of something that we don't even know how dangerous or for how long it's going to be dangerous. The very first thing I come out here and talk about when we get out here is how the school should not be opening. Who is most at risk when these schools open? Because we know it's going to be our babies, our Black and brown babies, our Black and brown teachers. And these things, this pandemic is about exposure. And they don't care about how many of us are exposed, because that rich ruling class, they have their safeguards. They got their work from home. They got their good insurance, their specialists, their good treatments. They're not worried. But for those of us who are afraid and who are exposed and who do not or cannot go to the doctor, it's us where that's running rampant. And so guess who they're looking at for these medical trials? Guess who they're looking at to then again exploit their research? It's not covert. So they know that they can't steal our DNA blatantly anymore. Outside of that 23andMe, them DNA tests, I would say watch out for those. They can't just scrape our stuff off at the doctors anymore, because we got safeguards for that. People done went and fought for that now, so they have a harder time going through those things. But what you can do is have these HBCUs send out these emails to their students and say, hey, these COVID trials are happening in New Orleans, and it's downright your duty to make sure that there are enough participants in this research so that a vaccine can come as soon as possible. And a line in the email even said, we have to make sure enough Black and brown people participate. Why the specification? Why the collaboration with HBCUs again? Why use these presidents as a prop to go and rope in these students who got university healthcare or healthcare through their parents, or who aren't from here, or who are struggling? We know what that's like, and who just want to make sure that they're doing the right thing, or they're doing something good, or that they can be safe. Exploiting the people's need for safety in order to make a profit, and then turn around and not even take care of the people. And at the most deplorable part of this is children. It's children. The connection between education is not a mistake. There's a reason for that. They gonna take us out now. They gonna do their little experiment, their little dirty work now. Let me, I know my time. Let me just say this real quick. I had a specific note that I wanted to bring to attention, and it's the company's name, and I want to get it right. AstraZeneca. AstraZeneca is a sponsor to these trials right now. And the trials are popping up all over the United States. And I'm going to highlight the connection to the very, very similar Tuskegee experiment, where funding got fishy and they still kept it moving. Or funding got fishy and they didn't communicate with these people that they've exploited for their bodies, for their research, for their notoriety, for their funding, for their grants, for their federal money. They didn't let these people know, or they didn't treat them with respect. And now they ass out, because that's the best way I can say it. So now AstraZeneca has people who have received the first round of COVID vaccine trials. And now because of funding and numbers, because we are still unpredictable on COVID, we still are seeing, as these restrictions are lifted for the sake of the economy, not for safety, the economy, that our numbers are ticking right back up and people are vulnerable all over again. We are seeing what is happening. And you're going to put the children on the front line by opening schools and then requesting that they be in these trials. And you can't even follow up. You can't even finish. So you got people out here with one dose of something they don't even know much about in their body and can't even finish what you said you was going to do. We are not your fucking lab rats. Period. Period. And so in the interest of time and not getting on my soapbox for real, I just encourage us to remember and notice and call out these connections, because they're everywhere. Because the terror on Black bodies, the calculated intentional terror, the war on Black and Indigenous bodies is everywhere, and it's not covert. And the connections, you can see them in your day-to-day activities, in your day-to-day actions. Call that shit out. See that shit. Let somebody else know about that shit. I had a conversation in Trader Joe's about that shit with somebody today. Because anywhere you go, it don't go away. It don't stop, so we shouldn't stop. I'm not gonna stop talking about it. All day, every day. Y'all not gonna be secret, neither am I. I'm out here, you out here. We're out here. And the more we support each other, the more that we learn about our roots, the more we go back to what we know to be true and ground ourselves in truth, in our own truth, in our own education, in our own study, and in the practices that belong to us, the more progress we can make as we do this revolutionary work as a whole. I love y'all. I'm grateful for this opportunity to have been in this space. I'm so happy that I learned what I learned tonight. I want to hear more about acupuncture. I want to hear more about everything that was said tonight. So I can't wait to do this again. I love y'all.
More, up. Yes. Continue to give yourself a round of applause. I really appreciate everybody who came into this space. We still have one more speaker, but I just want to thank everybody for coming into this space, willing and open to receive information, going through the process together. This is what it's about, y'all. So the word for the night for Vanna is grateful. Okay, so next we are going to share with Nana Anawa. She could not be present with us, but she sent us a recording of her voice that we are going to partake in here together. I'm looking for Nana Anawa's bio just to give y'all a little information about her. She is Nana Anawa Nantambu. She's known as Nana Anawa, Mama Nana, and Mama Anawa. Her grandchildren call her Sawa. She is native of New Orleans and has lived here most of her life, except for 5 years in graduate school, 4 years in Nigeria, West Africa, and 4 years in Durham, North Carolina after Katrina. She has 8 grandchildren and 2 sons. She values learning through travel. She practices conscious eating habits, meditates, blesses us with her singing voice, and practices lifelong learning, and has earned a BS in mathematics from UNO and a PhD in education from the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor. And she believes that life is beautiful. So I believe that Quest or Tina will be queuing up the video. Y'all help me.
I'm sharing my screen right now, Lana.
Sweet. So yeah, y'all shake it off. Take a deep breath so we can partake in this part, and then we'll be wrapping up with after questions.
Can y'all see my screen? It's just a black screen. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes.
The first thing is thank you all. Thanks to Quest for inviting me to be a part of this program or session meeting today. And I'm thankful that Tina had so generously is willing to record this. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to those of you whom I can't see that are out there. Okay. I know that I'm a child of God, a child of light, a spiritual being that is whole, perfect, and complete, manifested as this physical body, this person that you see now, with all of my gifts and all of my shortcomings. I accept myself.
Yes.
I know that I know just about nothing, and that is enough to do what I'm called to do, and I'm standing in courage. I know that I'm continually evolving and growing in and as love. I am love. And I know that I am here to serve, that I am a gift. And I know that the above are true for me as much as they are for you. We are one. And so from there, what well-being is to me, because we're talking about healing and well-being. And so for me, well-being is all of those things that keep us in balance. And for me, that's comfort, joy, peace, love, good relationships, having my needs met. And so what that says is that healing is ongoing. It's not like you get it and it's good and it's solid forever. So just like some of what we're offering you means you don't do it one time and think it's solved. Life is dynamic and things are always coming up. So you have your little toolbox of things and then you call on them as you need them. I believe, and this is true, that my first experience with healing was as a baby. You know, when you were first born, when you cried to tell somebody you were hungry, you cried to say you needed a diaper change, you cried to say, hey, come pay attention to me, kind of thing. And then I think about the times when you would cut a finger maybe or stump your toe. Your first response was to put spit on your finger, at least mine was, put spit on my finger and touch it, okay? And so all of that to say, what am I attempting to get across? I'm attempting to get across that healing is self-directed and it's inherent in our who we are. And other than we allow ourselves to be conditioned that our healing comes from outside of us. My healing is girded in my deep aspiration to be myself, who I truly am as a unique individualization of God that I use. God or creator or the universe or whatever is that for you. You figure that out for yourselves. And with the help of community, because it's in being in community that clarity comes. when you see yourself with others and see the gifts that they offer and what they bring, it helps you to hone into what you have to offer. When we feel out of balance, in general, it's because something inside isn't feeling comfortable. And the point is to try and understand what that is. And for me, meditation is one of those tools that helps me to get in touch with what is going on and be able to do something or see something in a way to make a difference. Her definition for meditation is turning the light on inside of you to get and see the wisdom in your bones. And so to do that, you have to be still. You know, you have to be quiet. And so when I feel broken in some kind of way, then that's what I refer to. But I don't only do it then, I do it as a habit to develop the skill of paying attention. And the modern word is mindfulness. My mother would have called it paying attention, to see what's going on as well as when I'm feeling out of sorts, but just to know, because those things that are going on, just like I said, we're all connected, so they're affecting me as they're affecting everyone, except some people don't pay attention, so they don't understand certain behaviors that they may be showing up in is because of the racism or the sexism or the oppression that they're feeling, the pressed, down pressed, as Bob Marley would say. So it's important to develop the habit of being still and sitting and some other things that go along with that is paying attention, and paying attention in a particular way, not to be judgmental about what's coming up for you, whatever is arising, to look at it and see it and let it pass, not dwell on it, not try to analyze it in that moment. But at some point, because it arose, it tells you maybe that's something you need to work on and look at. In Western culture in general, and I'm talking about the US because I know it, we've not tended to embrace grief in a way that allows it to empower us, to free us, to strengthen us. I can remember that you wouldn't see people. It was a thing to hide your crying or to hide your pain, and it still is. In the Dagara, D-A-G-A-R-A culture, of which Sobonfu Some is from, and you may have heard of her, it was her former husband, Malidoma Some, that in their culture, they have grief rituals periodically. I mean, it could be every 3 months, it could be every month, it could be as it's needed, but it's periodically, because what we know is everybody has grief. You know, we're having grief right now, like all get out in this country. The pandemic is one thing, as Quest laid them out. The pandemic, the economic depression, all the injustice that we're out in the streets and you're out in the streets raising up for our awareness, those of us who might not be so aware, all of those things combine to make grief, in addition to the things I don't even know that's going on in your life, that's going on in my life. And so the point is, we always have typically, we always have something we're grieving. And the grief ritual is the idea of we're not grieving alone. And because we have been kind of cultivated to feel we had to grieve alone, you don't want anybody to know you're this, your problems are that. Everybody has them, so why are we trying to hide? And the opportunity to do the grief ritual is a place where you know, if I feel this is so overwhelming that I could break, that's not going to happen because you got the whole community with you, around you, literally at your back. At some point, maybe even having to touch your back so you know the community is there. They're singing, they're chanting, they're drumming, and that is one thing I would like to see happen, make happen. Sula, who's also on the panel, knows that is one of the things that I've spoken about several times. I have been a part of conducting 3 in this city, and the first one was right in February after Katrina. So anyway, the point is just putting some information out there. So if you're interested, you'll say, yeah, let's make that happen. So if I take a breath, and maybe you too, maybe you need to take a breath because I'm coming at you with a lot of things. And we're always breathing, but conscious breathing is another thing, paying attention to our breath, noticing that our belly rises as we take a breath, and it falls as we release. And that helps to ground you, to center you, to refocus. Short of having an experiential activity, that I would just say and offer that a part of having what you need is being in a community that supports your well-being. If you're in something, make sure it's something that's supporting your well-being. If it is not, then whatever you need to do to bring the attention to the organization, to the family, to your partner, whatever, do that. And then, in addition to that, use the benefits and the blessings of nature. I mean, if I had to really think, I'd probably gone to the river or the lake as my community and cried there, because I'm not someone who can just cry. But when I get to that water, I cry because I think it's so much water that people wouldn't notice me crying anyway. You know, so, but yes, nature, the water, the mountains, anything I'm saying to you, I have experienced. Just standing in the sun or lying on the grass and letting the sun hit your body, taking your shoes off and walking and letting your feet touch the earth. We don't do enough of that. But they call it ground because that's exactly what it does. It grounds us. I'm going to close with something we called sending metta. And metta is a word that means loving kindness, friendliness. And so I will invite you to say to yourself what I say after I say it. And so starting with, May I be grateful. May I be peaceful and calm and wise and skillful. May I be grounded in my spiritual roots. May I be safe and free from all forms of danger. May I stand in truth, light, and love. May I be gentle and compassionate with myself. May I trust and know that all is well in my life. May I be whole, healthy, contented, and complete. May I be at ease. Thank you.
Thank you, Nana Anawa. That was beautiful. Tonight was beautiful, y'all. It was so good. And I just think about how imperialism came in and like cut the vein from a way that we would operate. It came in and said that we had to be this dominant, controlling, ignore the contradictions, ignore your natural body's reactions to things, consume, 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 as opposed to being in alignment with the forces of nature, being energetically in tune with the moon, the cycles of life, all those things. So just connecting the dots again some more. How grateful I am for everyone coming here to help break down some of these things, but also hearing that it's about building it up as you're breaking down. It's about building up as we dismantle and comb through and shuffle out that which does not serve our greater collective liberation, because we can't get up over here and leave some down over there. It's about Ubuntu. I can only be because of we. So I'm so grateful. I just keep saying that, but I love y'all. I believe Angela's gonna give us a call to action. And we're gonna keep it rolling, keep it moving.
Look, I'm on my fields over here. So before I jump into this call to action quest, I just want to see if you want to do any other check-in, or if we want to open it up for any quick comments. We're not trying, I know we're not trying to stay on here all night, but I just want to make sure I'm falling in line.
Absolutely, appreciate it. Thank everybody for making tonight a powerful, beautiful, revolutionary healing night. We are way over time because it was that good and on point. So I don't want to keep y'all too long, but I want to give space for at least a question or two, 3 maybe, that can hopefully be responded to, especially by Antoinette or Avery, because the rest of our speakers are not here. And then last but not least, before we even get to that, one of our Taken Down, new Taken Down organizers had an announcement on behalf of, or I can announce it if you want me to, Gabby, but on behalf of who was supposed to be our 6th speaker. I think even though she couldn't be here tonight, just her very presence on the agenda speaks volumes and was powerful. We couldn't have her tonight, but Gabby, did you want to speak to that? Because you were in communication with this sister. If not, I can speak to it.
I can do that. Thank you, Quest. Can y'all hear me well?
Yes.
Great. So I was in contact with a Nigerian woman who was recently released from a Louisiana ICE detention prison. She was there for 2 years. She immigrated to the US 8 years ago and now has a 7-year-old daughter, but she missed the past 2 years of her daughter's life because she was incarcerated. I heard her speak a month after she was released in July and immediately thought of her as just a perfect person to give witness to medical apartheid in the age of COVID-19. And in ICE prison, which we know because of the bravery of Nurse Wooten in Georgia, that the inequalities and the oppression that women and Black women and folks experience in ICE is just unparalleled. Miss Tatalu Helen Dada chose not to speak tonight. She wanted to so badly and she's sorry she couldn't, but she is so afraid that ICE is just waiting for the smallest reason to pick her back up again and incarcerate her again, that she does not want to risk anything that could take her away from her healing and her life. And I completely supported that. Take Em Down completely supported her need to care for herself in the ways that she needs to. She did write an article this year about her experiences being a immunocompromised person with asthma. She was hospitalized while she was detained, and it's a very intense story. And her and I were just lamenting the state of things where her voice is silenced because of this fear and the carceral tactics that are placed around her body. And she did say, as a Black woman who's an immigrant from Nigeria, that her highest hope is to abolish ICE and that she wants to stay connected on how we're doing that. And so she's very excited to have updates from us and what we're doing. Thankfully, she's safe, so that's what matters. I will link below in the chat her article that she wrote, and I encourage everybody to read about it and think about her just being one person out of the tens of thousands of people that are being terrorized by ICE. And these are all the stories that we just won't hear because of the carceral system pushing them into fear. So we honor her in her absence. I'm going to link that article now.
Thank you for that, Gabby. That was and is very timely. We have been doing in some of our affiliate organizations, namely the Workers Group, a lot of direct action work around ICE concentration camps, and calling them exactly what they are. They are concentration camps. There are at least 40,000 or so beds in the United States. And the number 2 location for those beds in those camps is right here in Louisiana. And so when we hear about the type of abuses that are happening in Georgia, that's literally right up the road for us. And we don't know what they're doing to people up there in regards to that. We do know that, for example, the direct action we took back on August 14th, we stood in solidarity with 40 Cameroonian, 40 African brothers who were on hunger strike. And, we went out there and were brutalized by the state. They pepper sprayed us just for peacefully protesting. But those men are being brutalized on a daily basis. And so much as you're talking about the same pepper spray they use on us, they send it through the vents so that these men have to inhale that. They do literally just torturous things to them. And as we speak, I was checking my signal for the brother Divine, who they blamed for organizing this, even though it was, just their accusation. And they relocated him to a different ICE concentration camp, and now they're threatening to mass deport all of those brothers in one fell swoop in the next few days, it could be. So these are urgent issues, and this is, segueing directly into what Angela's gonna take us to with the call to action. We don't have a very next step plan for what needs to be done there, but at the very least, it's a part of our everyday work, educating, agitating, organizing. We was just in the street for 7 days talking about this stuff. And this is why, as organizers, and I think we all felt really grounded by the spiritual work tonight. It's not that stuff is outside of our purview. We probably need it more than anybody else, but we put direct application to that to, understand that the landscape out here that makes it where we're separated from those traditions, like Vanna was talking about, requires our direct intervention as well. And it requires us, one band, one sound, but expanding the congregation, as we say, the Revolutionary Church. So I'm gonna go ahead on and pass it off to Angela. She got a little PowerPoint. She's gonna tell us some ways we can engage.
Okay, can you all see the screen? Give me a thumbs up to the screen if you can see it. Okay, I'm not gonna hold you long with this, but I do wanna share some very important things. We are so very grateful that you've come to share this space and time with us, and we're always grateful when you make the time to be with us in community. We see these call to actions as being ever so important. And we see this work all being connected. So when you hear us say educate, agitate, organize, we don't mean one without the other. We mean all of them. And they show up in different ways at different times, but they are all essential. I also want to say to you, and I hope that you all are listening very closely when I say this, there are times when, as oppressed people, we choose to analyze the landscape and recognize what our needs are, and we adjust according to our needs. And as I go through this call to action, I'm going to give you some practical examples of what I mean by that, because this is important. So we just wrapped up 7 days of action in regards to women, folks, and families. There's so much of what we talked about tonight that we don't just talk about. We do the work necessary to ensure that we are just not talking about it amongst ourselves, but we are out in community, elevating these narratives, elevating these voices, elevating these concerns and these issues in the ways that we can with the time that we have, because we can't keep it amongst ourselves. As Avery said, wherever she goes, she has to drop us something, because people need to know. And we cannot judge people or criticize people for inaction when the information is not being made available. It is our duty to ensure that we are sharing information the ways that we can, how we can, not from a place of lecturing people, but from a place of sharing and allowing people to do what they will with that information. It's not just about the information, it's about the perspective that we have in relationship to the information. You're here tonight, and we're grateful for that. Everything that has been shared is connected to all of this other work. It's all connected. This is our brother Big E, and we can see him actively doing the work in community. As challenging as it may be, this very same day, he was impacted by state-sanctioned violence. It's also important to know that what happens to him happens to every other member of women, folks, and families that are connected to him. In the same way we would rise for Big E, there's an expectation and an understanding and a reciprocity that exists, because we know that Big E will rise for us. So I want us to imagine how much stronger it makes us in community when we have this level of reciprocity. In regards to Take Em Down NOLA, we understand that being in the streets is not just something that we do just for the sake of. We're not in those streets just to be seen. We're not in those streets to check off a box and say, we had a protest today. We're in those streets to educate, agitate, and organize. And every time we're in those streets, we aim to share information, but also connect with members of our community, because sometimes us being in those streets is the only access that some people have to even an entry point to the information that we have to share from our perspective, and an opportunity to see us up close and personal and connect with us and draw close to the work. Some of you are here with us tonight because you met us in the streets, and we have to continue doing that. One of the things that was very important about tonight is that some people don't always understand why we do what we do. We get criticized for being in the streets and being loud. We get criticized when we take a moment amongst ourselves to go sit by the goddamn river. Somebody wants to know why you're so loud. Somebody wants to know why you're not loud enough. We do what we have to do when we assess the conditions. And the conditions in New Orleans is that the majority of us here are Black. The majority of us here are facing and dealing with trauma on a daily. And in order for us to continue doing this work consistently, follow through with consistency, sometimes we have to take a moment and we have to go by the river. And if that's what we have to do in that moment, because we've been in the streets every day prior to the time we're at the river, and if that's what we have to do, because when we get up from the river, we're going to continue to do this work, then that's what we are going to do. And no judgment, no confusion about it, will ever prevent us from doing what we have to do, because that's what we need to do. We also understand that when there are moments in time like that and we're amongst ourselves as organizers and we don't understand, we can simply ask. And if it is the case that some of us need a moment by the river, then that means those of us who don't need a moment by the river, we can continue being in the streets and pushing the work forward, because it's all of us collectively to sustain the work over time. So we are asking you to join us again in the streets on Saturday, October 24th at 6 p.m. because the message that we have here tonight, we have to take it to the streets. If you did not hear Antoinette say so clearly that symbols and systems are connected, then you missed the message tonight. It's all connected. We also have an open meeting for Take 'em Down NOLA that's going to transpire. We share all those details, dates, and all that stuff with those who are interested. And so if you're interested, you can just email info@takeemdownnola.org, and we will send you the information in regards to the open meeting. So we want you to know that. Next, our comrades at the New Orleans Workers Group are going to be hosting an important forum. We're going to be in that thing on Sunday, the 11th at 6 p.m. Why? Because even though we're talking about all this tonight, we've been in the streets for 7 days, there are still some who do not understand why it is we do what we do. They think that going to the polls and voting is the answer. Now, we're not anti-voting, so don't go out there and misinterpret or misjudge what we're saying. We're gonna go to the polls and we're gonna vote no on Amendment 1. We're gonna fight back against all of the attacks on reproductive justice, yes. And we are not under any illusions that any vote that we cast is ever going to fundamentally transform the conditions of the systems that are designed to exploit us and oppress us. Everything Antoinette and Avery just said tonight, no voting is going to switch that out. So sorry to tell you. But we do understand that when the people rise up and fight together, we can push a thing forward. That is why we have seen shifts in the conditions. But we want to uproot, eliminate, dismantle, and smash the systems designed to exploit us so that we can reorganize the society in ways that align with our health and our wholeness. We have work to do. So if you want to participate in that forum, we want you to RSVP to the email that you see on the right-hand side on that flyer. You can go to the social media pages for the workers group as well. And if you want to join us in the street for canvassing purposes, you can join us on Friday the 16th. Now, pending what goes on with the weather, and we always assess the conditions and we'll adjust accordingly, we're planning to be out there canvassing at St. Bernard and Broad, unless you hear otherwise. All you got to do is show up. If you feel like the weather is doing the most, then we understand that you won't be there. It's that simple, okay? There's also an open meeting that will transpire for the New Orleans Workers Group. And if you're interested in more information regarding that, you will also RSVP at that same email address to get more information. We want to share with you that the New Orleans People's Assembly meeting is coming up on Wednesday. And we have lots of information that we want to share that is a continuation of what transpired in these 7 days of action. We talked about the demands in alignment with the Fight Back Manifesto. We talked about living wages. We talked about the fully funded relocation of Gordon Plaza. We talked about the Civilian Review Board as it relates to police accountability. And we talked about flipping the budget. Those are areas of practical work that the people of New Orleans told us for 6 months straight in a row when we started the People's Assembly. And we hold that work because the people asked for it, and we're not just gonna drop it. But we are also clear that as we are doing that work, we are also not under any illusions that achieving any of those things are gonna fundamentally transform the conditions at a systems level. So we do this work on the pathway toward liberation. And we're very clear about that. And if you are interested in knowing more or participating in that particular meeting, you can simply drop me your email address in the chat box, and I will make sure that you are added to that invitation. We also want to affirm that you don't have to wait until Wednesday to start showing solidarity with Gordon Plaza. You can always light it up in the city about Gordon Plaza. You should never be anywhere where you see any city official, the mayor, or any council member and not ask them what they're doing for Gordon Plaza. If you happen to be walking through a restaurant, you at a happy hour at a bar, I will hope that you would not be under coronavirus, but if you are, and you see the mayor in there, you should ask, what are you doing for Gordon Plaza? There is no place that these people should go and be comfortable. You know why? Because they are all right now seeking votes. They all ears right now. They don't know how to find Gordon Plaza until it's time for election. And we ask you to make sure that you constantly keep Gordon Plaza's name in your mouth and that you bring it up anytime you see somebody. We want to thank you again for joining us in this work in regards to Take 'em Down NOLA. If you are not following us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any of our social media pages, we want you to follow us. There's also lots of information on the website in regards to Take 'em Down, and we always doing something. There's not a month that goes by for the last 5 years, going on 6 years of our life, that there has not been something going on with Take 'em Down NOLA. So if you want to draw close to the work, we have plenty to do. We got folks working on curriculum. We got folks working on a zine. We got folks working on actions. We got folks working on these forums. We got folks doing all kinds of things because we believe in educating, agitating, and organizing. And we got to hit it from all angles. And we welcome your support if you are in alignment with liberation. If you see this work as a way for you to engage in capitalist exploitation, then we don't need your help. We don't welcome your help. And this will be the last time we see you. So I'm gonna turn it over to Quest to close us out, or whoever's gonna do the closing affirmation. We love you all and thank you for joining us tonight. You're on mute.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm back. Saying thank you for making it crystal clear with the class lens. That is absolutely necessary, especially in our work, because we do attract those types, you know what I'm saying? Because this has to do with symbolism, and don't get caught on the surface, because it goes, as y'all saw tonight, so much deeper than the symbol. The symbol is an access point to understand the system, which we are absolutely 1,000,000% serious about smashing and destroying, so that we can replace it and bring back all of this beautiful spiritual health and culture that we come from. But in order to do that, we cannot compromise with white supremacist, heteropatriarchal capitalism. So if y'all about that life, you know, all those affiliate organizations we talked about, y'all can get down with them too. And you can also rock with our work as an access point. I want to go ahead and let us go for the night. It wouldn't feel right if we didn't do it with the Asada chant. And I don't know if my boy Big E is available, but if I don't hear from him in like 3 seconds, I'm gonna go ahead and do this myself, and y'all can just go ahead and repeat after me from your little corners of the world. This is not the same when I can't hear your voices, but you know, I'm gonna pretend like we're in the streets and I can't. So this is for our sister, for and from our sister exiled in Cuba right now who escaped the divided snakes and hysteria when they tried to lock her up, allegedly for shooting a cop. She was a freedom fighter, is a freedom fighter, and she's taught so many of us how to fight. She tells us to remember at all times, and we use this mantra to bring ourselves closer to each other and closer to the work, and we live by it. And she even quotes one of our great revolutionary ancestors, Karl Marx, at the very end. And that's important too, because when you get to this revolutionary theory, you're going to see how it's all connected throughout the centuries, across geographies, across racial lines. We all fight against the same system. So we need to remember that it is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and protect each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and protect each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. It is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and protect each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose but our chains. We have nothing to lose but our goddamn chains. I say, oh, round of applause, my people. Y'all was going so hard, I almost heard you through the mute buttons.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, y'all.
So good. So good.
Good night, everybody.
Beautiful, beautiful forum.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Love you, Tina.
Love you, Nat.
Biggie, you make sure to tell Tiffany we saw her peek up in here. And Drewski, thank you for coming through.
Yes.
Good night, everybody.